In the heart of an ancient forest, where the trees whispered secrets only the wind could understand, there lived a young fox named Ryu. The forest was vast, filled with life, birds singing in the treetops, deer grazing in the clearings, and rivers that danced and sparkled under the sun. But despite the vibrancy around him, Ryu felt an emptiness that weighed down his heart. From a young age, Ryu was different from the other foxes. He was quiet, preferring to spend his days exploring the hidden corners of the forest alone, rather than playing and chasing with the others. His fur was a deep, russet red, unlike the golden hues of his peers, and his eyes held a depth that the others often found unsettling. They didn't understand him, and so, as creatures often do with what they don't understand, they shunned him. Ryu tried to fit in. He joined the hunts, attempted the playful banter, and even mimicked their tricks, but something always fell off. The other foxes would laugh and chatter, but Ryu's heart wasn't in it. Over time, the gap between him and the others widened, until they barely acknowledged his presence. They seemed to enjoy each other's company so effortlessly, while Ryu felt like an outsider looking in, a mere shadow in their lively world. He couldn't understand why he was so different. Was there something wrong with him? Why did the others dislike him so? These thoughts plagued him as he wandered the forest alone, his heart heavy with sadness. One crisp autumn day, as the leaves fell in golden cascades around him, Ryu came across an ancient oak tree, far older and grander than any other in the forest. This tree was said to be the home of an old, wise Zen master, a sage known as Kenzo. The elder foxes spoke of him in hushed tones, saying that Kenzo had lived for centuries, his wisdom as vast as the forest itself. Ryu, feeling a deep yearning for answers, decided to seek out the sage's guidance. Perhaps the old master could help him understand his loneliness and show him a path to happiness. With a determined heart, Ryu made his way to the base of the oak tree. The bark was rough under his paws, and the air around the tree seemed to hum with an ancient energy. Ryu hesitated for a moment, unsure if he was worthy of the sage's wisdom, but the need for answers pushed him forward. "Master Kenzo," Ryu called out softly, his voice trembling with uncertainty. "I seek your guidance." There was a long silence, and just as Ryu began to doubt himself, a gentle voice emerged from the rustling leaves above. "Come closer, young one," the voice said, calm and inviting. Ryu looked up and saw the Zen master perched on a low branch, his fur a soft, silvery gray that shimmered in the dappled sunlight. Kenzo's eyes were like polished amber, filled with a serenity that immediately put Ryu at ease. The young fox approached cautiously, his head bowed in respect. "Master Kenzo, I am lost. The other foxes, they don't like me. I don't know why, and it makes me feel so lonely. I've tried to be like them, but I just can't. I've come to ask how I can find happiness." Kenzo observed the young fox quietly for a moment, then smiled kindly. "See, young Ryu, your journey to happiness begins with understanding. Let us talk." Kenzo began by explaining the ancient concept of Ikigai, a philosophy that had guided him through his long life. Ikigai, he said, is the reason for being. It's what gives our lives meaning and purpose. But to find it, you must first understand its 4 tenets. Ryu listened intently, eager to grasp these truths that the Zen master was about to impart. First, Kenzo began, is to do what you love. This is the essence of joy. Think back to the moments when you felt truly alive. What were you doing? Ryu thought hard. He remembered exploring the forest, finding hidden paths, and discovering the beauty of nature. Those moments had filled him with a quiet joy, a sense of wonder and connection to the world. "I love exploring the forest," Ryu admitted. "It's when I feel most at peace." Kenzo nodded. "Exactly. When you do what you love, you align yourself with the natural flow of life. But that is only the beginning. The second tenet," Kenzo continued, "is to do what you are good at. Each of us has unique talents and strengths. When you find what you are naturally skilled at, and you combine it with what you love, you create something powerful, your passion." Ryu frowned slightly, thinking back to his attempts to be like the other foxes. I've never been good at their games or tricks, but I am good at finding things. I can always sense where the best hiding spots are, where the sweetest berries grow, and where the prey are most likely to be. Kenzo's eyes sparkled with approval. That is your talent, young one. It is something special to you. When you hone this skill and combine it with your love of exploration, you will find your passion. But how does that make me happy if the others still don't accept me? Ryu asked, his voice tinged with sadness. The third tenet, Kenzo replied, is to do what the world needs. Happiness often comes from serving others, from fulfilling a role that benefits more than just yourself. Your skill in finding things, have you ever used it to help others? Ryu shook his head. No, I've always kept it to myself. I didn't think it mattered. Ah, Kenzo said with a knowing smile. Perhaps if you used your talent to help the other foxes, to show them where to find the best of the forest, they might see you in a different light. When your passion aligns with the needs of others, it becomes a mission, a purpose that extends beyond your own happiness. Ryu's eyes widened as he realized the wisdom in Kenzo's words. He had always thought of his skill as something personal, something that set him apart. But perhaps it could be the very thing that connected him with others. And finally, Kenzo said, the fourth tenet is to do what you can be paid for. In our case, this does not necessarily mean money, but rather a balance where your work sustains you. It is about finding a way to live that supports your passion without compromising it. Ryu pondered this last point. So if I share my skills with others, and in return, they accept me and maybe even appreciate what I do, that could be the balance. Kenzo nodded. Indeed, it's about finding harmony in life, where your actions sustain you both emotionally and socially. When all four of these tenets align, you find your Ikigai, your reason for being. With the tenets of Ikigai now clear in his mind, Ryu felt a spark of hope. But Kenzo was not finished. The Zen master spoke of another important concept, the experience of flow. Flow, Kenzo explained, is a state of being where you're so immersed in an activity that time seems to stand still. It is a sign that you are aligned with your Ikigai. When you are in flow, you are fully present, fully engaged, and it brings a profound sense of satisfaction. Ryu thought back to his explorations in the forest. There were times when he became so absorbed in tracking a scent or finding a hidden grove that he lost track of time. Those moments felt effortless, as if he was one with the forest. I think I've felt that before, Ryu said softly. When I'm deep in the forest, following a trail or discovering something new, it's like the world falls away, and it's just me and the moment. Kenzo smiled. That is flow, young Ryu. It is a sign that you are close to your Ikigai. When you find those moments, cherish them. They are a guide, showing you where your true passions lie. But how do I make the other foxes understand? Ryu asked, still concerned about his loneliness. Kenzo placed a gentle paw on Ryu's shoulder. The world often follows those who are true to themselves. When you embrace your Ikigai, when you live in harmony with your purpose, others will see the light in you. They may not understand it at first, but in time, they will be drawn to it. Ryu took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Kenzo's words. The path to happiness wasn't about changing who he was to fit in with the others. It was about embracing who he truly was and letting that shine. With a newfound sense of purpose, Ryu was eager to start his journey, but Kenzo reminded him of one more crucial lesson, the foundation of sustaining Ikigai. Discovering your Ikigai is only the first step, Kenzo said. To sustain it, you must take care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. There are 4 elements to this foundation. First, Kenzo continued, is health and vitality. You must keep your body strong and healthy, for it is the vessel through which you live your Ikigai. Eat well, exercise, and rest when needed. A weak body cannot sustain a strong spirit. Ryu nodded, understanding the importance of caring for his physical self. The forest provided everything he needed: fresh water, nourishing food, and plenty of space to run and play. Second, Kenzo said, is mental clarity. Your mind must be sharp and clear, free from distractions and negative thoughts. Practice mindfulness. Stay focused on the present, and do not let fear or doubt cloud your judgment. Ryu thought back to the times when his mind was filled with worry about what the other foxes thought of him. He realized now that those thoughts had only held him back. Third, Kenzo added, is emotional balance. Do not let your emotions control you, but neither should you suppress them. Acknowledge your feelings, learn from them, and let them flow through you like a river. This will help you stay centered and resilient. Ryu reflected on the loneliness that had weighed so heavily on him. He understood now that it was a natural emotion, one that he needed to accept and learn from, rather than allowing it to dominate his life. And finally, Kenzo said, is connection with others. No one is an island. Even as you pursue your Ikigai, remember that you are part of a larger community. Build relationships, share your knowledge, and support others on their journeys. Ryu felt a warmth in his chest at this last point. He had always felt disconnected, but perhaps it was because he hadn't been open to connecting in the right way. Now, with Kenzo's guidance, he saw a path forward. As their conversation drew to a close, Kenzo shared one final, profound teaching: the concept of embracing impermanence and anti-fragility. Life is always changing, Kenzo said. Just as the seasons shift, so too do our circumstances. To find true happiness, you must embrace this impermanence, rather than resisting it. Ryu listened closely, understanding that his loneliness, too, was impermanent. It was a phase, not a permanent state. The sadness he felt was not his identity, but merely a passing emotion. But more than that, Kenzo continued, you must learn to become anti-fragile. This means not only surviving the challenges and changes of life, but growing stronger because of them. When you face adversity, do not fear it. Instead, see it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become more resilient. Ryu's eyes brightened as he grasped the wisdom in Kenzo's words. He had always seen his differences as weaknesses, but now he realized they could be his strengths. His struggles with loneliness and acceptance were not barriers, but stepping stones to a deeper understanding of himself and his place in the world. I understand, Master Kenzo, Ryu said, his voice filled with newfound confidence. I will embrace who I am, follow my Ikigai, and grow stronger with each challenge I face. Kenzo smiled, his heart swelling with pride for the young fox. You have learned well, Ryu. Remember these lessons, and you will find the happiness you seek. The journey will not always be easy, but with each step, you will come closer to your true self. With Kenzo's wisdom guiding his heart, Ryu returned to the forest. The world around him hadn't changed, but he had. He felt a lightness in his step, a clarity in his mind, and a peace in his heart that he had never known before. He began to explore the forest with renewed purpose, not just for his own enjoyment, but to share his discoveries with others. When he found a hidden grove filled with sweet berries, he led the other foxes there, watching with joy as they marveled at the bounty. When he sensed a new hunting trail, he showed them the way, their success bringing a smile to his face. At first, the other foxes were wary, unsure of Ryu's sudden change. But as they saw the value in his guidance, they began to accept him, to see him not as an outsider, but as a vital part of their community. They started to appreciate his unique skills, and slowly, the walls between them began to crumble. Ryu didn't force himself to fit in. Instead, he embraced who he truly was, and in doing so, he found his place among them. The loneliness that had once weighed him down faded, replaced by a sense of belonging and purpose. And through it all, Ryu remembered Kenzo's teachings, the 4 tenets of Ikigai, the flow, the foundation of sustaining it, and the wisdom of embracing impermanence and anti-fragility. These lessons became the guiding stars of his life, leading him to a happiness that was deep, lasting, and true. As the seasons passed, Ryu grew into a wise and respected fox, much like the old master who had guided him. And though he continued to explore the forest, discovering its secrets and wonders, he was no longer alone. He had found his place, his purpose, and his joy, his Ikigai. And so, the young fox who once felt lost and lonely became a beacon of wisdom and happiness for others, proving that the path to true joy begins not with fitting in, but with embracing who you are and living in harmony with your purpose. Years later, Ryu, now an elder fox with a soft gray muzzle, sat under the ancient oak tree where he had first met Kenzo. The forest was as vibrant as ever, filled with the sounds of life and the whispers of the wind. But the young fox who had once sought answers had grown wise, his heart filled with the peace that comes from living in alignment with one's true self. As he sat there, a young fox approached, her eyes filled with the same uncertainty and longing that Ryu had once known. She bowed her head and spoke softly. "Master Ryu," she said, "I am lost. The other foxes, they don't understand me, and I feel so alone. I've come to ask how I can find happiness." Ryu looked at her with kind, knowing eyes, a smile touching his lips. He remembered the journey he had taken, the lessons he had learned, and the wisdom that had guided him. "Come closer, young one," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Your journey to happiness begins with understanding. Let us talk." And so, the circle of life continued, with the wisdom of the forest passing from one generation to the next, guiding each soul on their journey to find their Ikigai, their reason for being. Just like Ryu, each of us has a unique path to follow, a purpose that brings meaning to our lives. Take a moment to reflect on what truly brings you joy, where your strengths lie, and how you can contribute to the world around you. Begin your journey toward discovering your Ikigai today, and embrace the path that leads to a life of fulfillment and purpose. Thank you for accompanying us on this journey of self-discovery and wisdom. If Ryu's story has inspired you, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more tales that guide you toward your own path of happiness. Remember, you are never alone on this journey. We walk together every step of the way.